Hi, everybody. We have returned. You're listening to Westchester Talk Radio. We are live at the Surf Club here in New Rochelle, New York, for the annual Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, their Fall Gala. I'm Bob Marone, along with Matt Sako. We're produced this evening by Shaw Creative and made possible by Robeson, ENT Allergy, and Hightower Westchester. Now, this is going to be fun. The last time I saw my next guest, I was a catcher in a charity softball game. In fact, I didn't call the pitch. Guy throws the pitch in, and you were there, Jim Leyritz.
Okay.
2 entire baseball fields away, you hit a shot that one. I've never seen a softball hit that far. Now, I know you hit that big home run in '86. You were a great ball player, but a softball, how did you do that?
You know what? During my playing days, I actually played in the off season. I played softball 3 times a week just to keep my swing. Everybody goes, "Oh, doesn't softball screw it up?" But it actually keeps you learn how to stay inside the ball. And so I kind of cheated a little bit. I played a lot of softball.
I mean, I'm standing there in the classic looking up, and I'm saying they're going to have to get radar for them. Yeah. Because it does make sense, because there's a lot of good ball players that day. Willie Randolph was there, made fun of me. I caught him in a rundown, and I dropped the ball. Oh. But it was wonderful. But that speaks to why you're here. There you were doing something for charity. And that's my memory of you personally.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that Mr. Steinbrenner taught every one of us players when we were playing for him is that if you don't give back when you're done playing for the opportunities and the things that you got from your playing days, if you don't give back, then you did everything for the wrong reasons. And he really instilled that in all of us. And I think most of the former Yankee guys that were under Mr. Steinbrenner's tutelage, you'll see them that they're out there all the time trying to help, trying to give back to charity. And it's been one of my lifelong things that I do a lot.
Well, obviously, let's look at this. The last time I ran into you, it was a charity event. Here you are now, and that was several years ago, and I still can see that ball. Let's just talk a little bit. People want to know something about what it's like to be a Yankee. And I grew up in New York, Brooklyn kid. I might have been a Dodger fan, but we'll cover that another day. But the Yankees are the royalty of the sport.
Yeah.
What is it really as special to put that uniform on as opposed to any other? What did it feel like?
Yeah, I can tell you right now, I played for 6 different teams.
I know.
And when I put the uniform on the first time, there was nothing like it. I went to 4 other teams and put their uniforms on. It was great because most of the teams I was going to the playoffs with, but it was nothing like coming back to the Yankees in 1999 and 2000, putting the pinstripes back on. There's nothing like, number one, playing in New York. I remember Mark Messier said it when he won. He said, "You know what? I've won other places. There's nothing comparative to New York when you win." And I was just really, really fortunate to be part of the 96 and part of the 99 and 2000 teams.
Well, one of your World Series events, I made the mistake of going downtown. I had worked there at the time, of going downtown. And those crowds are frightening. You get stuck in the middle. You're not in control of your own feet. What was that like to go down the Canyon of Heroes more than once?
Yeah, it was, especially in 96, because it had been 18 years since the Yankees had been back. And we went down 2-0 in that series right away to Atlanta. Everybody thought we were done, and we crawled back, and we ended up beating them. And the celebration on the field after that game, in Game 6.
I watched every second of that game.
And when Joe Torre came up to me and said, "Jimmy, you've led this team around. Lead him around the field one last time."
Oh, that was great.
We took the lap. There was nothing like it. But then the next days, we go to the parade. And to have 4.5 million people lined up all along the Canyon of Heroes was one of the most special things I've ever experienced.
That's when you almost crushed me.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I remember when his brother came out.
Yep.
And he kissed his brother, and his brother had just had a heart transplant or work or whatever the case was.
If you think about that 96 team.
That was wonderful.
You think about Darryl Strawberry coming back from all of his issues. Doc Gooden coming back.
Yep.
David Cohn getting an aneurysm in June and coming back and really jump-starting our team into the playoffs. There's just so many great stories. And, of course, top it off, Joe Torre's brother getting a heart.
I know.
Right before the World Series.
It was ridiculous.
You can't make that stuff up.
It was wonderful, and of course you had a great game, a great series, I should say. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
Grew up with the Big Red Machine back in the Pete Rose.
I remember that
Joe
well.
Morgan,
I'm old
Johnny
enough
Bench.
to remember them very well.
And I was lucky enough to be a bat boy for 3 or 4 years in spring training.
No kidding.
My best friend was a guy named Tommy Brenneman, whose dad was the announcer, Marty Brenneman. And yeah, we got to stay at the team hotel. I got to meet, Dave Concepcion, Joe Morgan. I actually was a ball boy in a tennis match between George Foster and Ken Griffey Sr. Yeah, we were the ball boys.
I love those two ball players.
Yeah.
Could George Foster hit, or could he hit with that black bat of his?
Yeah.
Nasty, nasty.
He had some power, yeah.
I know I can't keep you all night, but I would
That's
if I
fine.
could. What brings you
I don't
to
go
New
until
York?
8 o'clock.
Is New York your home now?
New York is my second home.
Okay, where's
I live in Orange County, California. I got remarried and moved to California in 2011.
Okay.
My 3 boys and my 2 stepdaughters were all out there together. They've all grown up. I took them out there for a few years to raise them, make sure that they were all off on their own, doing their thing.
That's great.
And now that they're all there, this is my first year being back in New York full-time during the summer to reestablish all the charities, the foundations, all of the work that I do to be able to get back out there and be part of New York again.
Well, it's great. Well, we're kind of glad to have you back. And I just want to go back to something you said, the Mark Messier comment. Now, I've been a lifelong hockey player. I still play old man hockey. Now, the Stanley Cup is special, the whole history of it, and it seems almost sacred when you win it. Is the World Series as sacred as that?
You know what? I have the World Series trophy,
Yeah.
but I drank out of the 1994 Stanley Cup.
You did? You drank?
And there was nothing like that compared. I wasn't even part of that.
It's just so strange.
But just that tradition.
It really is, right?
And again, listen, we won the World Series. The trophy's great, but that is the hardest trophy in sports to win.
Nuts.
I take a lot of pride in being a baseball player because the hardest thing to do in sports is hit a baseball. But the hardest trophy to win
is that
Stanley Cup. And for those guys to do what they did, I became a fan, thank God, in 1993, living in New York City.
It's a great sport.
And all of a sudden, 94, they have that run. And I get to meet Messier and Leach in the city before that season ended and the way it ended. And again, they come into the China Club. I was standing right out front. They're like, Leyritz, come drink out of the cup with us.
Hockey players are a humble group. I'm sure they were impressed to meet you.
They are the
very
most,
much so. Yeah, very humble.
Most humble. I think, those are the kind of guys that you can walk by on the street and not even know.
Yeah, I played with some. Yeah, they're not full of themselves.
Yeah.
Now, I have to ask you this, even though I'm keeping you long, because when I interview anyone who made it to the top of their profession, I always ask this question: when did you know? Because you just said hitting a baseball is the hardest thing in sports. 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, curves, sliders. When did you know that, hey, maybe I could make a career out of this? When did you know you were special?
It would have had to been my senior year in high school. My junior year, I had a great basketball season. Basketball was my number one sport. I was a point guard. I had scholarships to Kentucky, Indiana, some of the bigger schools. And I was going to go play basketball. But then I had a great baseball season my junior year, and my dad came up to me and said, and my dad played basketball at Kent State University. So he really wanted me to play basketball. But he said, Jimmy, listen, you're 5'10", you can't dunk, you could go on to college and have a good career and get your education paid for, but you got a chance to be a professional baseball player. What do you want to do? And I said, Dad, I'm still going to play my senior year on the basketball team because I can't let those guys down. But instead of staying after and shooting free throws and shooting extra baskets, I'll go upstairs and hit off the tee, and let's get ready for my senior year in my baseball, and we're going to get drafted. And I was supposed to be, this is a great story if you have time.
Yes.
So this is a great story. 4 days before the draft. Now, the number one pick out of Cincinnati at that time in 1982 was going to be Barry Larkin. Barry and I were teammates in the summer ball.
Good ball player.
Yep, and we were getting ready to play summer ball, and I ended up going out and playing tennis with one of my friends 4 days before the draft. And I ended up fracturing the side of my foot.
No.
And I was out for 3 weeks, just 3 weeks. Wasn't bad. But I came home, my dad didn't know I was playing tennis. I came home with a cast on my foot, and my dad's like, what the heck did you just do? And I said, it's not a big deal, just 3 weeks. He goes, it's a big deal. We just got a phone call from these scouts. They're going to make you a number one pick tomorrow. And now I got to tell them you got a broken foot. And he said, so the scout called, sure enough, the next day and said, we want to sign him. And my dad said, he broke his foot. They said, you know what? We'll wait and we'll come back and we'll see him play at the end of the summer. And if he's okay, we'll go ahead and sign him as a free agent. We're not going to waste a draft pick on him. So I never got drafted. They came back at the end of the summer, and this is the best part of the story. So they come back at the end of the summer, and they said to my dad, they watched me play in a tournament, they said, we want to sign you. And my dad said he needs $10,000. Now at that time, the number one pick was $150,000, $200,000. It wasn't like it is now. But the scout came back and said, we can only give him $5. And my dad said, screw that, he's going to college. So I ended up going to a junior college in Georgia for 2 years, 1 year at Kentucky, never got drafted. Went out to Hayes, Kansas to play in a Jayhawk League, kind of like your Cape Cod League.
That's a good league, Cape Cod League too, great league.
Went out there to play, Yankees saw me playing, they end up signing me. This is where the story gets great. Fast forward to 1996, October 23rd, which is next Sunday, this coming Sunday. These two scouts that were supposed to sign me for that extra $5,000 they didn't, were sitting in the Atlanta
when you hit
Braves
that home run
suite with John Sherrills.
I love it.
They were Atlanta Braves scouts.
Good.
And they looked at each other and said, do not tell Sherrills for $5,000 we could have changed this entire thing. So.
I know you got to go in for dinner, but got 2 quick questions. I even did the opposite with Dwight Gooden a couple of weeks ago. Hardest pitcher you faced, not the hardest thrower, that's a second. Toughest to bat up against.
He was 2-1. It was Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson. Yeah, he scared me watching him.
Yeah.
With that arm, came like it was coming from third base.
6'10", wildly effective.
Oh my goodness.
And he was my toughest at bat from the left side, and probably my toughest at bat from the right was
Did you own anybody?
Pedro Martinez. Believe it or not, I owned Roger Clemens.
That happens.
Yep.
Now, Dwight, when I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, coincidentally, he said he couldn't get Chili Davis out for all the money in China, you know. Now, listen, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you. You're here tonight. I know you're going to be giving a talk. What is your purpose here tonight?
Actually, I'm here to be the auctioneer tonight.
Oh, you're the auctioneer.
I'm here to help raise money.
This is good.
Yep, for the foundation. We have a Yankee package. We have a New York Rangers.
I saw
New York
that on
Nets,
the bar.
Package, and then we have a trip to Costa Rica on behalf of Grandstand Sports, the memorabilia people. I'm here doing the auction for them tonight, and they called me up and said, hey, are you going to Houston? I said, why? And they said, we're having this big event, we need an auctioneer, we help raise this money, and it's for the Boys and Girls Club. And when I heard that, because I've done work with the Boys and Girls Clubs in Kips Bay, also in Hicksville, I'm like, you know what? I'll wait an extra day to go to Texas, and I'll go tomorrow. Let's do the auction. Let's raise some money. So I'm looking forward to raising as much money we can for the Boys and Girls Club here at Mount Vernon.
Well, 3 things. Thanks for doing this. Thank you for what you're going to do inside, and travel safely. It's been great to talk with you. And we still have people looking for that softball you
there
hit.
You go.
I will never forget.
And let's go Yankees.
All right, let's go Yankees is right. Jim Leyritz, everybody. Thank you very much for your time. We'll be back after these words.